Hi guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. And today it's going to be a family portrait of Roja Dove, one of the most controversial figures in the fragrance game today. This is going to be a very hard video for me because I'm of two minds when I think about Roja Dove. On one hand, when I listen to him talk, Roja Dove, the man, I absolutely love. I love his personality. I love that he loves fragrances, and you can tell that. On the other hand, his prices are obviously absolutely outrageous. $3,500 for a bottle of perfume is larceny. No matter how much money he spent on the ingredients, maybe it's $5 for him to produce instead of $2 for Estee Lauder to make theirs or whatever it is. But obviously, he's made his goods a Veblen good, where the higher the price goes, the more desirable they are to people. They just want them because they're expensive. But on the other hand, he has some fragrances that I really love. So I'm going to show you my collection. You will see that many of these are not bottles. I'm going to show you a lot of the Discovery atomizers that I bought just because they are so prohibitively expensive. First, I want to read a blurb from Fragrantica about Roja Dove. Roja Dove is one of the world's most respected perfumers. The creator of Roja Parfums, the most successful launch in Harrods history, is globally renowned for working with only the finest ingredients in the world. To the New York Times, he is a master tailor of scent. Now, and it goes on and on about how he made, fragrances for Rolls-Royce and all this kind of other stuff. The problem that I have with this is there's a lot of rumors floating around out there that Roja is not a perfumer. He never was a perfumer. Actually, there's a book came out that is called The Ghost Perfumer about Creed's misdeeds and lying about their history. And Delacourt, who worked for Guerlain for the longest time, actually called out Roja Dove in the book. It's a quote. You can find it. This is not me just talking down about him. This is something that Sylvain Delacourt said. She said that he was a makeup artist, not a perfumer. So he's created this brand, this idea that obviously is divisive. I'm of two minds when we talk about this, so just keep this in mind. This is going to be a very hard video for me to do. Some of them I will probably bash your favorites. Some things I will say I absolutely love that you may or may not like at all, but this is my collection and these are my takes. So now that I've wasted 3 minutes talking about nothing, let's get started. The first one is a discontinued fragrance, and it is called Majestic Oud. Majestic Oud. Roja says that this is supposed to be the smell when you walk into a palace in the Middle East. It's supposed to be a full-on oud, and I have a couple different variations of this. So I actually have this one I just showed you. I have a decant that I bought off of someone who decanted it from their actual bottle. And then I also have this version, which is now the newer version. The one I just showed you was the older take on his 7.5 ml Discovery atomizers. This is a nice oud scent. It's a westernized oud. When he says, "Oh, this is what you smell when you walk into a palace in Bahrain," no way. If there's oud in here, which there probably is if the brand says there is, doesn't feel like there's very much to me. It's not skanky. Fragrantica says it's animalic. I don't get that from this. I get a very westernized, Roja's fragrances round off all of the harsh corners many a times. So, he hides that skank note underneath all the beautiful smells that you get. His fragrances are very complex. If I read you the note tree on all of these, this would be a 5-hour video because every one of these has 20, 25, 28 notes. And a lot of his notes are base notes. So, I'm not going to read off every single note tree, but this is more, it's geared towards the Arabic market, they say. I think it discontinued because it was prohibitively expensive. And honestly, instead of spending $2,000 on a bottle of this, I would rather spend $300 on a Bortnikov or something like that. That's just my personal taste when it comes to oud. So next on the list is another extremely expensive fragrance. I think a full 100 milliliter bottle of this goes for $2,500. And it's a fragrance called Chypré Extraordinaire. Chypré Extraordinaire. And this is a fragrance that I was very underwhelmed with. It is powdery. I think it would smell great on a woman in a power suit going to the 50th floor of her office building and she's running the show. It is another very complex Chypré. And again, it has many of the notes that you will see in the base. So there's oak moss, civet, leather, orris, cedar, benzoin, tonka, musk, clove, cumin, and we're just talking about the base notes here: amber, sandalwood, patchouli, vanilla, styrax. The mid has a floral heart, like many sheafs of that you're thinking of old, like Mitsuko. He's added a plum note to the peach note that's in here. There is aldehydes in the top. I can't imagine paying $2,500 for a bottle of this unless you're just absolutely rolling in it. I got this because I really wanted to try it. You will hear about my favorite Chypré he's made later on, but this is Chypré Extraordinaire. Next is a fragrance called Musk Aoud. And if you'll notice, Roja, let's see if I can get this to focus without it being too crazy here. Musk Aoud. Roja puts an actual A before his oud. And if you listen to his YouTube videos, he basically says that he lived in the Middle East for 3 years. And that's how the people in the Middle Eastern countries pronounce oud, Aoud. And so, this is his take of a classic Middle Eastern oud with rose, but mixed in with this musk. There's a note of ambrette, which is musk mallow. And I like this one. Again, you can see the color. This is actually a very good line. This musk amber oud. There's 3 in this that came out: the original Aoud, and then musk, and then amber Aoud as well. So there's 3 fragrances in this line. And, I like this. Will I be getting a bottle? No, but I'm very glad to have gotten to try it. You would think, by the way, that this is a beast when you wear it, just based on, it's got the oud, leather, ambrette, the wood notes, the birch. It kind of gives it a little bit of a queer de Roos feel. But to me, it doesn't wear super heavy. I get good projection and longevity, but it's not the beast that you would expect that it is. Okay, next is another discontinued fragrance. And I actually bought this from the Heritage Collection, which is the discontinued line that he allows people to continue to buy from. And this is Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And this is a very interesting fragrance because this one has some strange notes to it. So it has notes like strawberry, banana, raspberry, plum, cotton candy in the base. I don't think I've ever seen the note of cotton candy, but it mixes it with this balsam fir, artemisia in the top, traditional blackcurrant, chamomile, saffron. This is a very interesting fragrance. Again, I wouldn't buy a full bottle. It even has a note of cacao in the base. Some people smell this and they're very underwhelmed. They expect to smell something extraordinary. It is. I don't think it's sold as well either, but I actually really like this for the heat because it's fruity. And even though it has all these complex notes, it does take you through a journey. That being said, I will say that a lot of his line where he did the countries in the Middle East, so there's Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, there's Bahrain, there's UAE, there's, on and on and on. Those lines, they all feel like there was a very similar base, that the perfumer kind of, they created a base and then they just kind of tweaked it a little bit towards each country. I didn't feel like there was very, it's very, you wouldn't want to own all of them is what I'm saying. But Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, amber spicy fragrance is how it's listed on Fragrantica. But those strange fruit notes kind of set this apart a little bit. So for summer wear, I like Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. A little bit disappointed that they discontinued this one because I think it was popular. But I'm happy with my 7.5 ml atomizer. I'll never buy a full bottle of something like this. Okay, next is another exclusive from a department store called Fortnum and Mason. And Fortnum and Mason has a logo that looks like the sun. And they have this beautiful teal plaque on the front of the bottle if you look up the bottle. And this is another one where everything is really rounded out. There's no sharp corners to this. The notes listed on Fortnum and Mason, you've got lemon and bergamot in the top, peach may. That May rose, by the way, note really stands out in this one, and it is a beautiful rose. I think this leans feminine, to my nose anyway. I wore it, I enjoyed it. It has a beautiful note of labdanum. And amber and saffron, but that rose note, May rose, is what's listed on Fragrantica, really makes this one another one that, just like Chypré Extraordinaire, I think this would be great on a power woman in a pantsuit going to the 50th floor to run a company or something. It also has olibanum in the base, so there is this you get this fruity vibe with the peach. And then you get the floral geranium. And there's one thing Roja does that I do really like. And again, like I said, I'm of two minds of this brand because the prices, the marketing is absolutely outrageous. But he does labdanum fantastic. And actually, there's one coming up I'm going to show you that's one of the best labdanum fragrances I've ever smelled. But it's the most expensive of the bunch. But this is Fortnum and Mason, the Perfume. And if you've never smelled this one and you're a fragrance enthusiast, this is an under the radar, interesting fragrance. I again, would never buy a full bottle. It's insane. It's $500 or $750 or whatever it is, but it's also a little too feminine for me. It's not really my style, but I really appreciate how it was constructed and the quality. One thing that Roja does is the quality of ingredients is off the charts. I mean, he uses the best stuff. There's no doubt about it. Next is a so this is what also makes this complicated. This is not a discontinued fragrance. This is a discontinued concentration of a fragrance that is currently still out there in the market, and it's a fragrance that's called Reckless Purom. Now you'll notice that this is the EDP. And they actually no longer produce the EDP. You can buy Reckless Purom, but you have to buy the Parfum, which I believe 50 milliliters sells for $500 or $550 or something. And I'm glad I got to try this. I actually like the EDP versions. There's more EDPs coming up later. I'll show you. But this fragrance, it reminds me of a fragrance I already own. And it's also a very expensive fragrance called Clive Christian X for Men. This is one of my favorite Clive Christians. And it just has this this beautiful cinnamon, peppery, cardamom, clove, type vibe. It's very masculine. This is a very masculine fragrance. And this reminds me of that, but it's almost been Roja'd, if that makes sense. Roja took, a fragrance like X, which is a winner. DNA, Giza Schoen made this. They took this winning, classic combination that works, and they Roja'd it up. They made it smoother. There's never round edges with a lot of these Rojas. They do feel very opulent and rich. And, you feel like you're smelling something that is expensive when you put your nose on it. They also tend to evolve. And when we get to my scent of the day, I'll mention that some more. They tend to evolve. to be honest, I actually, for this time, I prefer the Clive Christian. So we're starting out rough on Roja, but things are about to get better as they go on. But I'm glad to have these. Anything like this where it's discontinued, you know, I'm all over it. I'm glad to have it. I'll wear it every now and then and just enjoy what I have, and that's that. Okay, next. Next is one of my favorite fragrances of all time that I don't have a full bottle of, believe it or not, just because I'm working off this Discovery Atomizer. I have a decant as well that I didn't grab, so when you have a collection like mine, you just have to kind of, you know, you don't always need 100 milliliters of juice. But this is Creation E, or Enigma, again, to make it even more complicated. It was originally called Enigma Purom, but they had a copyright issue in America. So Enigma Purom for Europe, Creation E Purom for the rest of, for the United States. And this is, again, multiple concentrations. This is the actual Parfum, which $500 for 50 ml. I have a decant of the Parfum Cologne, which is 100 milliliters for $275, if I'm not mistaken. And I love the cognac in this. This is one of my favorite boozy fragrances of all time. It has this cognac tobacco, which I absolutely love that scent DNA. It's an easy sell for me personally. And when you spray this, you initially get hit with this blast of like a cola feel. It smells like Dr. Pepper almost at first, which it then evolves and you can pick out some of the other notes, but they brightened it up with ginger. So you get this ginger freshness, but then you also get this deep cognac. And Roja claims that he used, you know, the actual cognac leaves from the bottom of the barrel whenever they do their maceration process or whatever it is. Apparently there's either some sort of sludge or something that leaves behind when they do their macerations in the barrel, and they can actually use that in perfumery somehow, is what he says. I don't know how it all works, but I know I love this fragrance, and this has been on my to get a bottle list for a long time, but it's just so expensive, and I always just kind of keep putting it off because I do have this Discovery Atomizer. But I think as far as originality goes, you'll notice that I will say this reminds me of this. You know, Roja worked for Guerlain for a long time as their head of marketing or whatever it was. This is an original release. This is one of his best releases, along with one coming later that I'll show you guys. So check this out if that scent profile appeals to you. Next. Next is another fragrance that I think he hit a home run on. This is a fragrance that is olibanum heavy, so it's incense heavy, and it's a fragrance called Sultanate of Oman. Sultanate of Oman. And this is a 2017 launch. It is a very natural smelling incense fragrance. Oman is famous for their incense. This is right up there with some of my favorite amouages. I love this fragrance. They've used grapefruit and orange in the top. They have that raspberry note. Again, he likes to mix in fruit sometimes to kind of round things out. And that raspberry note, which Tuscan Leather used so famously, is here. And then you've got a floral heart of Rose de Mai, Violet, Jasmine. And then the base is where Roja's fragrances shine. That's how they always work. You've got olibanum, oud, Guardian balsam, saffron, birch, gaiac wood, elemi, papyrus, amyris, carrot seeds, orris root, oak moss, cedar, musk, cardamom, sandalwood. But that olibanum is the star of the show. You know, you get the citruses a bit in the top, but it's even though it is rounded out, like I said, you know, there's no rough edges with Roja. He's a platinum brand. He wants millionaire soccer mom to go in there and spray something in the store and go, wow, that's the best thing I've ever smelled, walk out and love it. And he also wants the fragrance aficionados to, you know, wear something and analyze it over the day for 7, 8, 9, 10 hours or whatever it is. So he does walk that line, but very few times are you going to spray something and you're going to crinkle your nose at it with Roja. This is a fantastic Olabanum. If I was made of money, I would probably buy a bottle, but as it is, with my other incense-heavy collections that I have, I love Towers Incense Extreme. This is just a little bit redundant for me, so I'm happy with the 7.5 ml Discovery Atomizer of Sultanate of Oman. But if you're interested in incense, this is a high-end incense banger. Okay, next. Next is a fougere, which he does not do very often, and it's a fougere with a twist. I like the idea, but I hate the fragrance. It's not for me. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't like it as much. I think it's one of his weaker offerings, and it is discontinued. Again, like some of the other ones that I said weren't that great, like Majestic Oud, you know, that's discontinued as well. But this is called H, the exclusive Purom Parfum, because they did an EDP here as well, I believe. So this is the Parfum and it's the Purom. They also did H, the exclusive black tier or something. So make sure you're looking at the right fragrance if you're interested in this idea. But this is basically a fougere with a twist. It has oud in it. And it has that Middle Eastern type line DNA. This was a Harrods exclusive, by the way, in case I didn't mention it. That's where that H, the exclusive, came in. It comes in that patented, you know, green Harrod box feel. It has that same Harrod green to it. It's an exclusive Harrod fragrance. And the thing that I think really I don't like in this fragrance is I don't like the plum, and I don't know why. You know, there's a lot of fragrances with plum that I really enjoy, but I don't like the way it was done here. It's not a bad fragrance because it has really high-end quality materials. You can tell the materials are top-notch. It has real ambergris. That's what Roja says. If they say it, you know, it's probably there. That being said, there could be the itty-bittiest drop and boom, real ambergris, but it does feel a little bit sparkly. It has that that salty vibe a little bit to it, especially once you reach the dry down. But the oud in the base is what's supposed to set this apart for a fougere. It doesn't do it for me. I was disappointed in this the first time that I had a chance to wear it, but it is good for heat. And I live in Texas, so it'll probably I'll use this up and enjoy it. But H, the exclusive Purom Parfum. Next is a set of 3 fragrances that he did, and they're called the Parfum de la Nuit collection, PDLN, LN, and they're supposed to be based on 3 people that you meet. So the idea is that he came up with this concept that he would create 3 fragrances for each person. So number 1 was supposed to be one type of person. Number 2 was supposed to be some other type of person you meet. Number 3 was supposed to be the third person. And he created a fragrance for, that person, let's say, that person's personality. So number 1 is supposed to be provocative and rich. This fragrance exhibits exhibitionist announces its presence, consuming any who fall into its path. It's the most predatory of perfumes. So this is supposed to be the predator, and it's PDLN 1, Parfum de la Nuit 1. And this is my scent of the day. And I will tell you that this fragrance reminded me of a fragrance that I have in my collection. I have a decant of and I love, and it's called Tobacco Oud from Tom Ford. I instantly got the Tobacco Oud vibe, but again, it's Roja, so when you spray it, it smells like Roja took Tobacco Oud and fancied it up, put glitter on it, made it sparkle, and maybe took someone off the street who's kind of a bum and put them in fancy clothes, but you know what it is, Tobacco Oud. Not that Tobacco Oud is a bum, but I prefer actually the sharper corners that Tobacco Oud has. Tobacco Oud has that sharp opening. It catches you. Nothing really smells like Tobacco Oud that I've ever smelled. I think that's one of Tom Ford's best fragrances. And it smells a lot like tobacco oud. It does have, guaiac wood, clove, and labdanum, benzoin, tolu balsam, castoreum, civet. You'll notice there's a theme here. Those heavier resins, Roja does a great job of using, but also making it, some people say this fragrance is animalic. I guess maybe I'm so used to heavier animalic fragrances, like I love vintage Koros. I will tell you what I like about this fragrance is when it starts out smelling very similar to a lot of other Rojas. It actually reminds me of this. It reminds me of Majestic Oud when it starts out. And then as the hours tick by, probably at about the 2 or 3 hour mark, and this is a heavy projector, by the way, it brings in this smoky note, which I think maybe it's the papyrus, but I really enjoy when it makes that twist from, really smelling like a, tobacco oud in a nice $5,000 suit to this smoky, resinous base notes. The tolu balsam, I think, and castoreum really start to come out. Not that it's animalic. It's not animalic compared to real animalic fragrances. One thing that Roja said during an interview that always stuck with me is someone asked him once, they said, why do you put notes in your fragrances that smell bad? Why would somebody use civet or hyrax or castoreum? And he said, well, at the risk of sounding coarse, the genitals are next to the anus. So when you smell something, even subconsciously, if you want to smell a sexual fragrance, if you want a woman to smell you and subconsciously be attracted to you, a good perfumer will hide those animalic notes underneath all of the, patchouli, vetiver, cedar that you usually get in a fragrance, the nice rose notes. That was Roja's response. Very interesting take, I will say that. He said subconsciously you think about that area, and so it's a sexual innuendo, attraction, and that's the way that they kind of look at it. I like the heavier animalic fragrances. This is not my favorite PDLN fragrance, Parfum de la Nuit fragrance. We will get to that coming up soon. Number two is another amber woody fragrance. This is supposed to be for the soft, warm, and tantalizing. This fragrance revels in the power of suggestion, the warmth of a touch, the excitement of a quick glance. Number 2 is the master of seduction. It is lighter. This is a very well-made fragrance. Again, these fragrances, by the way, the PDLN line are $1,400 a bottle. And so these are very expensive fragrances. That's why I have these little testers, PDLN 2. And this also has the civet amber, but it brings in a note of rum and coconut in the mid. It's a little bit softer. It's a well-made fragrance. It still has that papyrus note, so there is a little bit of a theme running through here between 1 and 2. But again, my favorite one is number 3. And number 3, I'll have to do a full review on this one day. Number 3 is my favorite of the line, and it's also probably the most overtly animalic and probably the most famous in the fragcom. I mean, still not many people are out there pounding their chest about a $1,400 fragrance. That being said, the thing that I really like about number 3 is the way that he used cumin. I think the use of cumin in PDLN number 3, it's one of the most brilliant uses of cumin ever, I think, in perfume history. I think it rivals Eau de Hermes by Edmond Rudnitska for probably my favorite use of cumin. Eau de Hermes is top. This is right underneath. Anytime you're being compared to Edmond Rudnitska, the greatest perfumer of all time, many say, I think you're in good company. So he did hit a home run with this one. And again, this is my beef with Roja Dove. This is a $1,400 fragrance. And, we went through the first 2. Yes, they're nice. And then, boom, you find one that you love. Would I buy a bottle of this? Maybe. This is not one I would say no to. I very well might buy a bottle of this, but I wouldn't pay retail. I would try to find either a half full bottle or something like that where I could get a deal. You know, if I could find one for half price, even a third full. That's how I try to buy these, because I try to make my dollar stretch as long as I can, especially with these expensive fragrances. But if you like the animalics, and the note of cumin doesn't scare you away. There's also a beautiful incense in this. It's so complex. This is one that changes hour after hour after hour. I'll have to do a full review on this once I get my reviewing legs going. But PDLN number 3 is a masterpiece, to my opinion. Okay, next is the most expensive fragrance on the list, and it is Roja Haute Luxe. Roja Haute Luxe. And this is really just called Roja is the name of the fragrance, but Haute Luxe is the, I think it's the tier. I think there's a couple others in this Haute Luxe line. There's Great Britain and maybe Nuit or something like that. There's a few, but this is supposed to be the perfumer's fragrance, if you want to call it that. So this is what Roja Dove wears, is what they tell the public. And originally, I think he made like 25 bottles for the entire world. And now he makes 250 bottles every year on his birthday, and that's it. It's a $3,500 fragrance. But to me, this, even though there's notes like bergamot, lang lang, jasmine, rose de mai, he claims the jasmine is, you know, of course, one of the most expensive. The jasmine in this costs more than the gold flakes that he puts in the bottle and all this kind of stuff. To me, there's one note that stands out above all, and it's labdanum. This is a labdanum bomb, and this is probably the only thing that could compete with Le Lion from Chanel, which is my favorite labdanum fragrance. I think I would take Le Lion for $300 over this for $3,500 any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But if you have the money to burn and you just don't care and you want to wear something completely outrageous, see, when I wear this, I just can't help myself. Every time I spray it, I'm going, oh, wow, there's, you know, $50 or whatever it is. I mean, this wasn't that expensive for 7.5 ml, but still, you know, you do the math and that stuff starts adding up. And so, you know, for me, this is just something that I just needed to try on my journey. I would never own a full bottle of this unless someone gifts it to me. Like Thomas from Early Greek, he said that one of his subscribers sent him a bottle of this brand new. So I need some of those subscribers. But this is Haute Luxe, the most expensive fragrance in Roja Dove's arsenal, which is saying something. Okay, we've done the decants. Now we're going to move on to the full bottles. And we're going to start with one of my favorite Vetivers. Yeah, this is a great Vetiver. It's called Vetiver Parfum Purom. And you can see the Roja Dove presentation here. I made you wait 33 minutes to get to the good stuff. But here we go. You can see the writing on the cap, the signature, the beautiful jeweled encrusted cap, which look like you might be able to just peel those off. But, you know, presentation is obviously top notch. This is a $500 bottle. It's ridiculous. And it is one of the best Vetivers, I would say, out there. It's smoky. It's dark. It's heavy. It has that Roja classic DNA. Labdanum is in the mid and in the base. Labdanum, I think labdanum is one of Roja's favorite notes. He uses it to perfection. It is blended to perfection. But then you have to ask yourself, again, you know, even though this is one of the best vetiver fragrances on the market, is it worth $500 for 50 ml? You know, price is subjective, but honestly, to me, I've learned that I get just as much enjoyment wearing Encre Noire à l'Extrême, and that's a $30 fragrance for 100 ml. I get literally just as much enjoyment. Now, when I spray myself with this, and it's got the pressurized atomizer, it's gorgeous, you know, you might feel a little bit better about yourself because you're putting on a $500 fragrance, But to be quite frank, is it worth the money? I would say, would I replace this bottle after I used it? No, no. This is a one and done for me. Fantastic vetiver. You know, in Roja's interviews, actually, you will hear him say, I want to be remembered for my vetiver and one other fragrance coming up. So anyways, that's Vetiver Parfum Purom. Next is a fragrance called Oligarch. And Oligarch is another very complex fragrance. You can see different cap. This is not as expensive, by the way. If you can notice, it's an Eau de Parfum concentration, and it's the only way it comes. A lot of Rojas only come in the more expensive Parfum or the Parfum Cologne, which if you don't want the Parfum, you can buy the Parfum Cologne, which you get more juice. It's a lower cost, but it's a different concentration than the Parfum. This Oligarch actually only comes in the Eau de Parfum. And this fragrance right here is the reason why I never bought Terre de Hermes. So they are compared. They're different, obviously. This does not smell exactly like Terre de Hermes, but you could wear it in the same situation. And this is an insane fragrance. It's got 26 notes. Do I get 26 notes out of this? No way. But you can tell that it is a very complex fragrance. It has multiple transitions when you wear it. That's what makes these so interesting. So that's why I'm so torn. You know, this is $300 or whatever it is, $275. And, you know, while you're wearing it, you enjoy the turns that it makes and all that. But if price is an issue, just get Terre de Hermes. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. But I am glad to have this. I'm glad I got a bottle. And that's Roja Oligarch in the EDP. Now, another EDP coming up, but a discontinued EDP and a discontinued version. This is the older bottle. This is the only older bottle like this that I have. And it's of a fragrance called Scandal. Scandal Purom. Now, Scandal is Roja's take on a traditional fougere. So you can see the cap is different. You know, this is when he had that basic cap before he got all fancy. The sticker on the front is different. This is just a sticker, not a gold plaque like he graduated to with these. So this is when he was just putting a sticker on his bottle. And you can see how much juice I have left here. This is also the only bottle I've ever gotten without paying for. The brand did not send this to me. I actually swapped this for a bottle of Aventus. And as you saw in my Aventus collection, I still have 4 bottles. So this was a good trade for me with half full bottle of Aventus. And I got this basically for free in a swap, which I thought was a good deal. And this is Roja's take on the classic masculine DNA. So think Chanel Pour Monsieur or YSL Purom. Those kind of fragrances, you know, that's what you're going to get out of this. Eau Sauvage. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to get. Again, he discontinued the Eau de Parfum, which this is, and he basically turned it into the Parfum. So this is the Parfum version. I have a Discovery atomizer of, and excuse me, and so basically different concentrations. He's charging way more for the Parfum concentration. Now, to me, I hate to say it, but I actually prefer, I think, the EDP. For some reason, this smells a little bit more richer and complex even than the Parfum does to me. And again, this is just my opinion, my 2 cents, but if I got a chance to pick one, I would probably go for the EDP. They're very hard to find. People are asking dumb money for these old, you know, sticker labels of Roja on eBay. Don't pay pirate money for this. But if you like that classic masculine DNA, which I'm actually not a fan of, but I actually really like this fragrance. I think it's done very well. There's a note of rhubarb in here. It has the usual lavender, citruses in the top, lily of the valley, jasmine rose, violet, Roja loves violet, by the way. Violet is one of the flowers that I really smell the most when I smell a lot of Rojas. He loves his violet. And actually, if you ever see pictures of him, he's always wearing a purple shirt or a purple, he's sitting on a purple couch, or I should have grabbed his book. I even have his book. But this is Scandal. For somebody that I'm of two minds of, I have a lot of Roja stuff. Scandal Purom, if you like that classic citrus masculine DNA, this is probably the best of the bunch in my opinion. This is one where I would take it over, Eau Sauvage or YSL Purom, or, there's a couple others that fall into that crowd, you could say. I would take this over those. I think this is done much better than a lot of those other citrus heavy perfumes, which usually most enthusiasts don't get excited about. This is a little bit more exciting to wear, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, next is Roja's take. Again, a lot of these are Roja's take on a famous fragrance. And this is his take on one of my favorite fragrances of all time, and that is Bel Ami. But this is called Roja Fetish Purom. Parfum. This is the Parfum. And again, a lot of money for these 50 ml Parfums. Beautiful presentation, but for me, there's nothing like the original. This is Bel Ami, which this is basically trying to emulate, in my opinion. And, they do say that flattery is the greatest form of... that you love something or whatever it may be. But again, Roja took Bel Ami and he Roja'd it up. It's just what he did. When you spray this, you don't get that boom in your face leather like you do with Bel Ami. When you first spray this actually starts off a little soft. He added a note of fig. He added his favorite flower, violet. And of course, he added a couple things, the labdanum in the base, the castoreum. This is clearly a leather fragrance, but it takes a little bit longer to get there. There's ambergris in it. It's a fancy version of it, right? So do you want to smoke the $200 Colombian cigar, or do you want to smoke the $20 cigar that you love and it's yours and you enjoy it and it doesn't make you cough? And that's what Bel Ami is for me. So for me, there's no comparison. I will show you one in a minute where I believe there is a comparison, but for me, Bel Ami is the king. Roja did a nice iteration of it. If you like this style fragrance, which I do, I think it's worth checking out. You can study it, but for me, I prefer the original Bel Ami. Okay, next, another one of my favorite fragrances of all time that Roja did a take on is Danger. And the original fragrance, by the way, this is Danger Purom Parfum. This is, again, the Parfum, the 50 ml. And it was Heritage, Guerlain Heritage, that he did his take on. This is the house that he used to work at. And I will say that I like Danger. I think Danger takes that heritage DNA and adds some interesting touches to it. Again, what he did, I think, the most with this is amped up the cumin. I think the cumin is amped up compared to Heritage. I think he added some ambergris, which this probably does not have real ambergris. This is a designer, This is a designer release. People were paying 30, 40 bucks for, 20, 30, 40 bucks in the 90s. So, he took the Heritage DNA, and again, this has 23 notes or something insane, and he used expensive materials. And does it smell great? Yes, I love wearing this. Would I buy it again? No. I would just wear Heritage, to be honest with you. And this is a vintage bottle, so obviously it's, the enjoyment I get out of this would be more than a newer bottle that's been reformulated. But this is one where, again, I would stick with the original. And now we're going to close on, if you've watched my other video, you probably already know what's coming. My favorite Roja Dove of all time. I think this is his masterpiece. I don't think that it's Vetiver, like like he says he wants to be remembered for his vetiver. I think his masterpiece is this, Diaghilev. I know that's probably not a shock to anyone that knows fragrances, but Diaghilev for me is this is one that I am actually thinking about buying a backup bottle of at $1,000 a pop, or whatever it is, $1,100 a pop. This is one of my favorite sheafs of all time. It just that heavy opening, that it smells like two bodies making love. It has that musky, dirty vibe to it. The sheets are all wrinkled and it's hot in the house, and it has that. And it has a beautiful oak moss, and the even though there's a lot of florals in this fragrance, the dirtiness just is what I really get. I love the amped up dirtiness of this fragrance over Mitsuko. This was the original from 1919. This is a fantastic value for money. This is taking Mitsuko, making it dirty, and using the highest quality materials you can buy. I mean, for $1,000 a bottle, you should get high quality materials. And Roja, he Roja'd it up, and he did a fantastic job with this one. This is one where it's worth the money. A lot of them I've said no, but we're gonna end on a love. This is an absolute love for me. I love this fragrance, and so as you can see now, my dilemma and why I say I'm of two minds when it comes to Roja Dove. There's a lot that I looked at and said, it's not worth it. It smells like this. It smells like that. And then there's some that you look at and you go, wow, what an amazing creation. So, that's my Roja Dove collection. I hope you've enjoyed seeing it. I feel like this was a very hard video to do because there's so many different concentrations, discontinued, fragrances here or there, or types, or different small little atomizers to show. That being said, tell me what you think of Roja Dove in the comments. I love interacting with you guys. I know there's probably very few people who got to the end and got to see the full bottles. 47-minute video is a long video, but I do really appreciate all of your support, and look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.